Please sign.
You're an organizer. Finally. Over to the microphone.
I saw a thing that was pretty cool. Have you ever been like to park right in Flying Indianapolis, the park your cars at the airport?
I'm trying to think of what we normally do. Parking and go, parking.
They changed the name.
Oh,
Yeah, it's off of, I might just draw a blank right now.
on
But the place,
At Reagan Street.
Breaking Highway, or
maybe,
it's the one right. on the way.
Ameriplex.
Ameriplex,
Yeah,
yeah, okay.
yeah,
Acres and acres of cars
yes,
with these roofs over them.
yes.
Okay. I saw this picture, that said, you know, it had the solar panels on all those roofs.
Mhm,
And said, you know, cover our cars with
mhm.
solar instead of our fields.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a great idea.
it is, yeah.
You know, solar farm of any significance takes acres and acres, right?
Yeah. I'm still thinking that there's something with sun's energy we have yet to discover.
Oh, no question.
And we're gonna go, this is it, this is gonna be our, because it's solar panel, yeah, the capacity.
Yeah, it'll never reach it,
Yeah.
solar, wind together will never reach it.
Yeah.
But no, the technology's just not there yet,
Yeah,
but
I'm like, there's still something we have yet to discover.
trust me, there's a lot of people out there working on it.
I know.
The other thing, this is what always amazes me when we're at the beach. The power of the waves coming in and why they can't somehow. I mean, it's just constant
Yeah.
capture of that.
Yeah.
waves at some-
There have been some attempts to do that, but nothing really
Good
successful.
thing.
It's constant.
Yeah, I wouldn't move my car. There's still a bunch of cars. You guys aren't parked in the,
Main, that's right.
yeah.
There's some kind of
Are you
thing
parked right outside?
happening.
Yeah.
Are you next to the edge of the building?
We're up on the visitor spots. We're on the south side,
That should
very
be-
south edge.
That should be okay.
Should it? Oh, I
They're
don't know.
near the, I interpreted that email to sometimes
What's
say.
going
like,
on? They're getting ready to,
They're checking car seats. They're doing some kind of workshop
They're
to
using-
check
Yeah,
kid car
Oh,
seats.
so they're gonna have people come and just throw
The-
on.
sheriff or police department's using the parking lot for something. They asked us to move our cars, so I just got done moving mine. I didn't really read it. I was just like, well, I'll move it.
I didn't see a sign.
I didn't either, so.
Yeah, that's probably not too surprising.
Yeah.
Hopefully that you can get in and out. I didn't catch it. Like I said, I didn't read the email, so if it said something that's close,
Mhm.
I'll defer to Tammy's interpretation.
It was hard to interpret.
But if you guys can't leave, it's Drew's fault. Okay, now. Did you move your car too?
It's in the Bears first. It's in the lot, but it's like closest to the.
Quick ride, minor.
There.
Are you parked along the perimeter of our parking lot, or did you park in smack dab in the middle of it?
Are you, yeah, visitors?
It matters tonight.
Why?
There's some kind of workshop that,
I'm down here on like a 2-hour parking down towards that end up next to.
next to the building is fine. Okay,
The sheriff's office is doing some sort of, car seat
check.
trial inspection. We're bringing your car seat and they'll inspect it for you.
Oh, I was gonna say, my kid's 27 years old, I don't have no worries there, he don't be driving.
Are you sure he doesn't need?
Well, sometimes.
Very long time years ago.
And it's just gonna be Jeff and I, so the case.
Yeah.
Every farm that.
And we're-
They were running, training, yeah.
For a while.
But they had.
So I reviewed both cases, like, I didn't look at it.
Yeah.
It's one, the first one. Private shots. Yeah, the private shots.
Katie, how are you?
Good, Eric, how are you doing?
Good, good.
think that was one of the longest surveyor review boards meetings I've ever been
That
part
was
of in
Marathon, wasn't it?
my almost 20 years here.
Well, I think it goes down in mine.
I would imagine.
I know
But it was a
it's the
good meeting.
ninth hour, but would you guys have ever entertained the CEO ordinance revisions? Like, we're working
We've
through the
always tried to
subdivision
use the
control
review
ordinance
board for
right
that,
now.
But like every time we've had a reasonable discussion or conversation, it just seems to fizzle out. And like, remember the Andor conversation with kind of the plats needing to be recorded? It's still a little ambiguous, but you know, now everyone has it recorded, but that's the reason those 10 years have a gap of what's been recorded at the recorder's office and just what was like kind of done through the administrative process. and then
We're
that-
revamping
So
subdivision.
I think Larry Wilson might have been there at the time. I don't think it was Jackie. And basically they were just like, we'll update it. And so and then that was the last time we really tried to use the board to intervene in certain ordinances. Eric's proposed the idea, or was it you, about like just looking at the electronic open gov system and getting a sense of what it looks like for like a petitioner representative to go through that?
Yeah, I
I
can't
thought
think
that
about
would be
that
a
right
lot
now.
of, no, I know, I thought that would be a lot
I'm
of
just
work,
thinking
but that's the
ordinance.
last kind of conversation we had that would kind of overlap of what else is going on in the county to utilize that board.
What are you proposing, Tammy? I mean, you know.
Something that broke, so we have to call everything now to match state code, primary plat
Yeah.
and a secondary plat, rather than they can call it preliminary and final plat. So that language is changing, but then I think we're gonna pop out an administrative plat, which will be a little different. And we're just working through crafting what the requirements are for administrative plat.
If we can take it in small chunks, you know, I mean, I've tried to be active in, you know, some of the reviews of setbacks and stuff like this, and what I'm running into is between the workload going to the meetings and so forth, but if I can kind of group a couple of things together, you know, I can maybe, you know, bite off a little bit here and there along the way, but it's gotta be structured, you know what I'm saying? So this is, you know, this is what planning is looking at. And you chime in on this here, what you think?
Last time
I feel like there was no structure the last time.
That's why we are literally breaking it completely apart and like putting it back together again, so it has some semblance of like order. But it's still hard, it's still hard, and then
Plot plan's the last thing that the board did something, but then we also took that to the Hoosier Hills chapter. And we just wanted, because we had vague language where like a architect.
we can chat after the meeting. It's 4:00.
Bruce quite significant.
I mean, our plot plans are a lot better than what I used to.
I'll call it meeting order, but I guess the one thing is just logistics. If we need a quick turnaround, we'd have to kind of spin up like a meeting, maybe.
I'm gonna slide
dedicated
to
to
it,
that.
slice copy so you can kind of see what's going on.
I think all the board members are vested enough to want to convene the special meeting, but like to Eric's point, like.
It might be
it'd
text.
just-
You're gonna have to-
But yeah, we've always been wanting to make that board more available to, you know. kind of count on it, and count over it. Thank you. All right. Are we unmuted?
Put on camera as well.
I'll try my best to kind of point out to you, because I know that one of the questions is gonna be that with respect to the
You tell me when I
the
will
waiver
go
with
and
right of way.
ready.
This area here is just a tiny little area that they want to preserve the loading dock for this bond that they're asking for this little bump out so they can continue to use it without having to have it taken out.
Sorry, Ron, did you start it? Ready to take roll?
Are you, if you're ready?
Yeah.
All right. I'd like to call to order the Monroe County Plat Committee meeting, Thursday, September 19th at 4:00. I will, I think maybe call a roll to
Ron Enright Randolph
here.
and Jeff Morris here.
All right, we have two members. That is a quorum, so we'll proceed. Under administrative, there's no business. Under old business, there's no business. New business, we have McBride minor subdivision preliminary plat with the right of way with waiver, which this will proceed to the full plan commission. So this is a plat committee recommendation. I will just quickly note that, unless you want to suspend the rules, the way we kind of conducted, recommendations to the full plan committee, we do not take public comment. The petitioner and the petitioner representative will have their time to speak, but we won't go to the public due to the fact that we rather hear the public comment at the full plan commission, so all plan commission members can kind of follow along. With that said, Sean, this is yours, and please take it away.
Okay, so this is a 2-lot minor subdivision in the Forest Reserve FR zone. We've got about roughly 23 acres, give or take. So this would exceed the minimum lot size requirements of 10 acres if they are not connected to sewer, which they are not. Just kind of scroll down here. So as Tron alluded to, it is also requesting a right-of-way with waiver. And I'd like to go down here. What is this? It's one of the exhibits. Might be a little hard to tell, but there are technically 2 concrete pads here where an existing barn is already there. You have a concrete pad to the north, a concrete pad to the south. So this primarily concerns the concrete pad to the south here. And this is the purpose of the right-of-way with waiver request. So the petitioner, or I should say the owner, would like to maintain that concrete pad, potentially to utilize it for an existing structure in the near future. But in order to do so, they do have to request this right-of-way with waiver from the Plan Commission. As far as the traditional site goes, there's not necessarily a whole lot of environmental concern with this property. There are delineated drainage easements where there appears to be an existing low-lying, maybe we used to be a creek bed at one point, or maybe it still is. The petitioner has submitted and also was issued completed right-of-way permits, septic permits. Here we've just got a little snippet of the site conditions map. So the lots pretty well exceed slope requirements, nothing of concern there. Specifically, the right-of-way dedication, at least according to the plat that Eric Decker provided to staff, they're at least requesting a just under 7-foot right-of-way dedication. So that right-of-way dedication, according to the highway department, they are okay with this right-of-way with waiver request, so long as that dedication is approximately 25 feet south of the south concrete pad, and then that extends 25 feet north of that north concrete pad. And I can clarify if that needs to be
Well, I
clarified.
think this will probably be kind of a bigger point of discussion.
Mhm.
So what you're saying is highway will accept the dedication of 25 foot, which will leave the barn outside of that dedication because they don't want to receive, or they won't accept any dedication with a structure, and that due to a number of concerns, liability, I think, being one of the biggest. But that would eventually, if this road is, I guess, expanded or something, kind of give the right of way to highway for their needs. Like if.
Yeah,
becomes a
and this,
thoroughfare or something.
and
like
this, and this
I doubt
particular
it.
property is very far up
Yeah.
in the northern part of the county, so it's almost.
And I think this is more for planning and, not necessarily kind of germane just to this plat, but overall. Is there a way to create or craft some language, like if that barn is taken down or, that area is open, that, at that point in time, like the petitioner might commit that then they will give the proper dedication to highway, so it's not kind of a piecemeal situation. And that's just something for future consideration, because we're seeing a lot of these, and it'd be interesting if we could still get that dedication if that building is ever removed, because right now I see that as being kind of the practical difficulty. And if that barn is ever moved or comes down, is there a way to get, and I guess the only real way is getting the property owner to commit that they would then dedicate that in a subsequent dedication kind of process.
And the highway department did not recommend anything like that.
Right, but I'm just kind of,
It'd be pretty hard to track.
it would be hard to track.
Kind of a
Okay.
hard thing to track.
And I think that would be in a more of a prominent location than this, but just, like I said, not just to this case, but overall kind of is where my thoughts are about kind of how can we still potentially maintain that dedication highway needs if these roads were ever expanded.
I have seen buildings altered where they
Yeah,
shave off part of it to meet the full right of way, so they didn't have to go through the waiver process. But the waiver, we weigh heavily on the highway department's recommendation. They're supporting it in this case. So.
okay. And that's kind of just me kind of some thoughts on it. Hang on just one second. Let's make sure, Mr. Morris, it looks like, Eric, the petitioner representative, wants to maybe, comment on that question. Do you have anything prior?
My thoughts align with yours. So,
Okay.
no, I think it's-
Sean, is it okay? Have you concluded, or I know you haven't concluded. I don't want to derail his
No,
presentation.
I can say my comment.
Is that
Go for
available?
it, go for it,
Okay.
yeah.
So please continue.
Yeah, so there's not too much else to this petition. Like I said, the property far exceeds the requirements for subdividing. I know that the petitioner is aware that after this right-of-way dedication goes through, that it will create some non-conforming structures on the property because they will be encroaching into that front setback. And I've spoken with Ms. McBride at length at this property, and she understands. And I believe her plan is to eventually go to the BZA to request those variances from the front setback.
Okay.
And then, yeah, like I said, they've met all the requirements. They've got capacity letters from REMC for electricity and Washington Township Water Authority. So that's pretty much it to this petition. It's pretty straightforward, aside from the right of way with waiver.
This would be a plat committee decision without the waiver.
Right. I guess I should also say that there are overhead power lines that run through the front of the property, but those are not required to be buried as they service other properties up and down Burma Road. So.
Okay. I have no questions. So with that, we'll go ahead and open that up to you, Eric.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Sean. You did a
Yeah.
good job presenting this here. I mean, it's spot on. Kind of commenting back on the right of way request that we've got here, I mean, she's looking at being able to use the concrete pad as a loading dock, kind of revamping the barn and being able to use it for livestock like what it was used for in the past. So that's the reason that she would like to keep the concrete. However, highway department wanted to see this additional right of way here taken out for, I guess, liability purposes. But I can get behind the idea of being able to possibly add a note to a plat with respect to, similar to, when you have a non-conforming structure and adding that language similar that, hey, it's a non-conforming structure, it's got to go to the BZA to ask, to either expand upon it or what have you. So it would have been an easier process in this situation than if we was able to work with highway and not have to create this bump out or in the right of way. So I've got nothing further to add.
And I guess that might have been the answer to my question. So the fact that they want to actually
potentially do a few things with the barn is why they would be going to the BZA. And are we putting that general note on there that, you know, this
Yeah, I believe,
structure can't be modified or moved?
yeah, I believe
unless-
there's a note on the actual plat itself.
Right, and that's what you were alluding to.
Exactly.
I just, okay, well, just wanted to make sure I had that straight. With that and the fact that we won't be going to public comment, we're back at the, committee, for, motion.
Okay. For case SMN 24 6, I move that we forward a positive recommendation to the plan commission. And approve the preliminary plat and right-of-way width waiver based on the finding that the proposed preliminary plat meets the subdivision control ordinance, subject to the highway engineer and MS4 coordinator reports.
I'll second that.
So there's been a motion and a second to forward positive recommendation to the plan commission. I'll call the roll. Tron Enright Randolph.
Yes.
Jeff Morris.
Yes.
Motion passes 2-0.
Awesome.
What meeting would this be scheduled for?
It's in your report.
October 17,
24.
24?
It's a Thursday.
October 17th is the next one.
That's a bit shorter than yesterday.
Man.
Was that yesterday?
Yeah, day before,
No, no,
the
it's
day before yesterday.
That's how
Fishing like it.
That's how long
2 days
yesterday
though, right?
was. All right, we'll move right along. Well, I just accidentally closed the packet. Pull that right back up. Okay, so we're, I want to clarify that that was case number SMN 24 6 that we just voted on. I don't think I read the case number out loud, so I'll just go ahead and indicate that now. Okay, we'll be moving to the second item under new business, which is case number SPP 24 3, the Westbury Major Subdivision Preliminary Plat Amendment 1, Street Tree Waiver, Sidewalk Waiver. This is a plat committee recommendation. And as indicated earlier, we won't be going to the public for any comments, and this will be going to the full plan commission. So Drew, it's all yours.
Thank you. All right, this is the Westbury Major Subdivision Preliminary Plat Amendment 1. It's 10 parcels at 3110 North Westbury Village Drive, 3116 North Canterbury Court, and then 3129 through 3139 North Westbury Village Drive. It's in Bloomington Township, Section 18. And it's currently zoned general business. The petitioner is requesting the preliminary plat amendment to this subdivision to redesign West Thornbury Drive in a manner that no longer extends a future road stub to the west property line from the cul-de-sac. Proposed preliminary plat amendment also includes a sidewalk waiver and a street tree waiver. The preliminary plat amendment was submitted by the petitioner in an effort to close out the remaining public improvements within the subdivision in order to complete all the required improvements and get release of the subdivision bond. The entirety of the improvements within Westbury are to remain private, and therefore the developer is not required to have the improvements accepted into the right of way. The developer or an active association will be responsible for improvement, maintenance, plowing, etc. As part of the subdivision approval, the developer was required to post a financial guarantee in the amount of $143,617.27 to correspond to the remaining improvements. If this preliminary plat amendment is approved at the plan commission, this financial guarantee can be reduced to only the remaining sidewalk and street tree requirements on the remaining vacant lots within the subdivision. So in March of 2018, the plan commission originally approved this subdivision. It included a sidewalk waiver and a road width waiver request at that time. The original sidewalk waiver pertained to sidewalks on the east side of Westbury Village Drive. That would be this pink area here. Starting at the north end of the angle parking and heading north to the end of the cul-de-sac. That's what that icon here describes. Road called West Thornbury Drive, which is this road here. Was intended to stub to the west, also, which west was also included in the original sidewalk waiver request. That's why you see the pink surrounding all of this. There is no sidewalk there.
The original preliminary plat, sidewalk waiver and roadway waiver were approved by the plan commission by a vote of 8-0. So when you're looking at this map, north is on the right side of the screen. All right, so the new sidewalk waiver pertains to the east side of the angled on-street parking along North Westbury Village Drive between lot 9 and lot 8, which is this area here in yellow. According to the petitioner, this area was intended for sidewalk installation, has existing trees and steep slopes that make sidewalk installation difficult. A sidewalk was installed along the western side of Westbury Village Drive for nearly its entire length, save for driveway and road cuts throughout the subdivision. Portion of the sidewalk in question is depicted in yellow here on the screen. So this is the portion that was originally shown on the 2018 preliminary plat. And then on the amendment, that area along the angled parking is no longer shown as having sidewalk. That's the amendment request. We also have a waiver of street trees involved in this petition. The new street tree waiver pertains to trees that were originally intended to be planted along the road stub of West Thornbury Drive to the west property line. The trees intended to be planted along the south side of West Thornbury Drive where there is existing pavement, this area here. And the trees on the east side of the jug handle where several mature trees already exist, which is down here on the east side of the property. So all of the green dots you see on this image are the street trees that were originally required. The petitioner is no longer wanting to plant in these areas. You'll note that there still are a few other street trees along this area that are depicted on the plans and are to be planted. Okay, highway comments. Not really. Ben Ayers stated that, or confirmed that the drive of West Thornbury is privately maintained, so no review is required. Stormwater did not have any comments to share at this stage. Here we have the location map of West Thornbury subdivision. Here's the county slope map showing utilities, and other site conditions. With some site photos here as well. You can see the existing sidewalks that are already installed along some of the lots. And this just a zoom in, kind of get a better idea of how it looks. And there's that pavement area that I spoke on, that street trees will not be planted, obviously, because it's already paved. And the petitioner has been in conversation with the property owners here, which is High Rock Church, who own this lot, and they do not want to tear up their pavement just to plant some trees here. There is a street tree that will be planted here, and of course, there's trees along this section as well, as shown on the plot. Just more pictures showing sidewalk connectivity on the west side of North Westbury Village Drive. Just more pictures here. A few of the lots are still undeveloped. This lot here, and then the lot to the north, the end of the cul-de-sac, which is actually underway of being developed. Here we have the petitioner's letter and the consent form from High Rock Church. And here we have the preliminary plat amendment 1 that shows the changes made as described in this petition. Just some zoom ins of that document, just to give you a better resolution. You can see the absence of street trees where they have elected to not plant them per the waiver. This is just all zoom ins of the development for your review. Then I also included the original approved preliminary plat in here as well for comparison purposes. I'm just going to keep scrolling through all of this. The findings of fact included here as well, the staff report. There are findings for each of the waiver requests as well as the subdivision in general. And then at the very end, we have the petitioners submitted findings for their waivers with respect to the street tree, sidewalk, and road stuff. So that brings me to staff's recommendation. All right. So staff is recommending approval of the preliminary plat amendment based on the finding that the proposed preliminary plat meets the subdivision control ordinance and is subject to highway engineer and store coordinator reports. And we are also recommending approval of the sidewalk waiver request based on the findings of fact and approve the street tree waiver request with the following condition of approval: that the petitioner submit a plan that details alternate planting locations for 11 street trees that would otherwise not be planted due to the waiver's approval. I'm not taking any questions.
I have a few, I can wait, or?
Go ahead, I don't know.
Okay, so. I understand the practical difficulties on some of these, so I'll say that first. I'll make a general comment that doesn't really pertain to this particular plat, but actually it was something I think you said, Jeff, at the plan review committee, when I watched it, is, you know, some of these things are presented and then they're amended, and then it's like, do they really even still hold water to what the plan commission was originally looking at? With, you know, different type of benefits. One of those bigger benefits is connectivity, safety, and things like that. So on this particular case, you know, the sidewalk waiver, if you go to an aerial, Drew, that would be best. The one maybe where you highlighted. Well, no, you can't see the building. There you go, that's good. So there's one building or two locations. I mean, I went to Ivy Tech here and I worked at Terry's Banquet, so I'm very familiar with this area. And it's like you have to park there, so they're still asking for a park. So like, there's literally no like refugee area for folks to kind of stand on and then wait for cars to get to the other side to use a sidewalk. If we look at ADA compliance or anyone that, you know, needs assistance with their mobility, you know, again, the safest way is to cross the street, get on a sidewalk, which there's only a few different, probably easy access points to it. So they would have to maybe meander to the end to get to like a area where you can access it. And then, you know, what really is the bigger question is what's going to happen here in the future. And if you had the parcels turned on, you would see that they're all individual parcels. So they might be a handful owned by the same folks, but unless, you know, they do like a massive redevelopment project here, we might still have limited access to certain areas. And that parking with no ability to get to a sidewalk to connect to kind of to your left, those buildings, which would be on your south. Right there, I mean, if you just, there you go, that's a good one. You could just see they have no other place except to cross the street. And they have to cross it like right after they park. So it's like basically parking around the courthouse and trying to run across the street without, you know, having any sidewalk to take you down to one of the corners. So that's, the connectivity through here was big. You indicated something about private drive, but that's a public access road right there that we're looking at, right? So during this conversation, and that's a stub that would be to the north of that. Where I don't think you have an aerial, you would actually have to maybe pull up a elevate or beacon to.
Are you talking about this road?
No, I'm talking about all the way up to the north.
Oh.
Yeah, right there.
Here?
And
Scroll the sign.
yeah, and there's two large parcels to the north. I was looking at that earlier, and if they're ever developed, this could eventually be a through road. And would you just bring up a larger map? When we're talking about connectivity, I think connectivity is important. And what I'm getting to is the safety for possible pedestrians. And if any of this moves forward, you know, it's going to increase the traffic. So it's hard to not look at some of this more regionally. But and I'll just give 1 second. And, you know, I think there's a lot of difficulties to ever connect to the next road north in that area. I know it was a large part of this conversation when we first looked at it. But if we do, and yeah, just zoom out. Sorry, just keep zooming out. Actually, here we'll zoom out quite a bit, Drew. You'll even get the new Hunters Road and so like just keep going, yeah. So are you able to turn off the address forms?
And then while you're at it, turn on floodplain and buildable area.
Right. I'm not saying that it's not possible, but like if these are ever too developed, there's a lot there. But there's a road up here where like in this initial conversation, I don't think you were on the planning commission when it first came in, where, you know, the thought is maybe one day we get up here. But then if you then go ahead and just zoom all the way down this way, yeah, just keep going up. As you can see, this is the Hunters Creek Road that we just amended. That's gonna basically kind of connect straight through here and then eventually get to Curry Pike. So I can see a lot of people benefiting from that. So my larger concern is what's gonna come in the future, and if we don't provide potentially pedestrian safety, if that volume of traffic increases. Today might not be the right day to discuss it, but that's kind of why I want, what I want to share as far as like where my larger thoughts are. Because I could easily see the benefit of connecting those roads. That might be 10, 20 years down the road, but also they might be using those buildings for next 10, 20 years and no one can access them safely without trying to cross that intersection. That's where I'm at. I think my main thing is just move this to the plan commission for larger discussion. We do have the representation here. I'm not, you know, I don't have a position quite yet. I do understand some of the practical difficulties, but that's what starts to concern me, is kind of if we continue to grow out, if, you know, even if those businesses start to be fully operational, if you look in the aerials that Drew had and the ones I am, you know, there's quite significant cars parked there, so they look like they're viable, you know, businesses now, so that even though it deads in, it looks like they do get some traffic through there.
Between that detention basin and the property line.
And how many of those lots are like so far not developed? They look like they all are. One, yeah. And I really like what's going on here as far as like where it was and where it's going. So, you know, there's a lot to weigh in there. So, those were my thoughts. No real questions, just a couple of comments. Jeff, you had anything else, please go ahead. I don't think this is kind of one of those, they're gonna continue to amend it.
Okay, I'm gonna interrupt. Is anybody parked in the center of the showers building now?
We've been checking, and no one's here, everyone's around the perimeter.
Okay, we've
So-
got 3 vehicles and we've got 1 unaccounted for.
So we've been
Almost the
asking,
edge.
yeah, so, no worries. All right, well, thank you too, no one wants to be blocked in here.
My only concerns were around the sidewalk, like you've already mentioned, Tron. I think I appreciate your forward-thinking concerns because there's areas around the county where you see sidewalks and then a sidewalk ends and you see paths across the property where people have kind of formed their own path.
Their own path, yeah.
I tend to agree with you though, that I don't think we should hold it up at this level, but maybe expect more conversation about it at the plan commission meeting.
Right, and which means, you know, not to jump the gun, we go with the petitioner. Also, the street tree waivers, they seem pretty straightforward. And Drew, you were talking about the amending this as a hub, or as far as where the street trees, or is that still potentially intended for connectivity at some point? I guess, or I might have misheard what you were saying.
Are you talking about the road stub on
Yeah.
West Thornbury?
No, that is still gonna have a emergent. So that's just the stub. Is there any intention to amend the connectivity part of this? I guess I might have misheard you where I thought you were saying they were seeking an amendment to remove the possible connection there.
Yes, so in the original approved plat, there was, this
Right.
dedicated area was going to, extend the road and then stub at the end here.
Right.
But the petitioner is requesting under this preliminary plat amendment to not construct that extension and then just end it as it's shown on this diagram here, just slightly north of the cul-de-sac.
And I don't remember that ever being a big concern of mine with that connection of that particular one. The larger one, yes, but this one, it doesn't jump out to me when we first looked at this, so.
In my review of the meeting minutes for this petition, this road stub here and on the west side of it is all private property. As it continues, this private property continues into essentially a neighborhood. And then there's the road, which is, I think it's Arlington.
Right.
It extends this way. And the conversation was centered around basically providing that in a method of getting ahead of potentially the development getting so large from business purposes.
Yeah.
That they would need more, another entrance, if you will. But again, that would have required, acquiring this land from a private owner, and then also extending it even further onto, Arlington.
And I can't say too much about that thought process because I just had the same one, but that one doesn't really have a concern as far as where it starts to look at what the connectivity with the sidewalks and providing that safe passage for pedestrians. Even though I don't know if that will ever be such a safety concern. Okay, well, if you're ready, we'll take it to the petitioner's representatives. So, yeah, Katie.
Yes, Katie Stein, Smith Design Group, petitioner representative, also have the owners, Kim and Steve Runkle here as well, developers. So I'll start with the road stub to the north. Back in 2018, 2017, when we were working on this, I don't recall the exact quote from Lisa Ridge, but she basically said, we will never take over these roads in Westbury Village. This road will never connect to the north. At that cul-de-sac is also where the detention pond is for this. It is never intended, this is intended always to be private, never intended to be public. And I believe that was discussion with Lisa Ridge Highway Department back in 2018. The Thornberry connection, that was something that was just adamant at the time planning wanted it. It goes to an old railroad bed. I mean, there is rock all the way down there, very narrow, not feasible that a road's gonna go through there. So that makes sense on the Thornberry. The sidewalk connectivity, I get it. Pedestrian safety, things like that. This is, in my mind, thinking about the traffic that is in this. If you go over to the Kroger east side and you look at that parking lot, to me, this is way less traffic than that. Each of these individual buildings, they have parking right up against their building. If you are a customer that's going here, which not a lot of these are customer oriented businesses, they are employees, whether they take their car home or take a business car home, they come here, they get their supplies. There's not a lot of customer parking, and if you're an employee, if you're a customer, you are parking at that location. These on-street parking spaces have been there since the beginning of time. They're technically are part of the High Rock Church. They could be providing overflow on Sundays. Are the businesses open on Sundays? No, and I don't even think they have overflow that gets in there. They were used when we did this petition for the antique mall that is no longer there. All that business, all of its parking is on site. Terry's Catering, which I don't know the name of it now, they have a couple vehicles parked there. That's it. These do not get used. I know that's a snapshot right now. There is a 5-foot area between where these parking spaces stop and where that travel lane stops. I mean, this is really no different than like a drive aisle in a parking lot for crossing, things of that nature. And yeah, the practical difficulty on this is the construction side of it. There's a lift station down there that, needs to have access to it. There's sidewalk on the west side of this entire neighborhood, but I doubt there's many pedestrians, if any at all, going in this area. Yeah.
Can I say something about sidewalk?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd say go ahead.
absolutely, yeah.
And I met out there with Drew. We looked over all these things and Drew took a myriad of photographs if he can pull those up. But there's a location in the path of that sidewalk where I'm of the opinion it's impossible to build a legal sidewalk across it. And it primarily results from the fact that there is a sewer lift station very close to the sidewalk. However, it's 7 or 8 feet lower in elevation. And when I stood there with Drew, clearly you could not build a sidewalk between that lift station and the road. And I told him, I considered going around behind the lift station and back up. But that is a slope that's unacceptable for a public sidewalk. And I told Drew, I'll be happy to build that sidewalk. But somebody smarter than me is gonna have to come in here and tell me how to do it. It's that simple. And I think the necessity for the thing is very minimal. I think Katie gave examples to, why there really is no pedestrian traffic in there. And trust me, I'm in here every day. I know all of the businesses back there. I know all the property owners and everything. And I have built all of the sidewalk with the exception of a short stretch in front of the one lot that's not developed yet. And the minute they start and locate their driveway, but if I just build it straight through, when they build their driveway, they're gonna have to dig it up. So if I felt it was feasible to build this sidewalk, it would already be built. But it's just not. And then the same thing with the road stuff. I showed this to Drew and he took some pictures and everything and seemed to agree with me. That is no place to be building a road, and particularly a road that doesn't go anywhere. And I mean, the easement will remain in place. If something changes dramatically off the distant future, which is certainly possible, then, a road could be placed there. But I see nothing in probably our lifetimes that would constitute the necessity to build that road up there. So, and if the topography is terrible, there's a lot of old mature trees that have to be removed, and there's just a myriad of reasons why building that road stuff that serves no purpose at this time is not a good idea.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you have access to his photographs?
I'll have
Yes,
them ready for the
and-
plan commission.
Okay,
And
okay.
I've also been looking at it too, so, thanks, is that all? Anything else that you would like to share? If not, I think this will end up being a larger discussion at the plan commission.
Sure.
Because there might be a few other folks still there that were
Well,
around.
you
when
raise
this was
the same
first.
kind of issues that are gonna be raised at the plan commission.
Right. And it's one of the goal here is to help try to streamline some of those.
And you're also on the plan commission.
Correct.
See, look, we can both of them.
Yeah.
All right, well, I've saved a little explanation time there,
Yeah.
I think. But at any rate, and this will all be real evident when Drew presents his photographs. And of course, I will be at the plan commission meeting, assuming I'm still living. And, so we'll see, but as you consider this, you consider a lot of important issues about pedestrian safety and all this kind of stuff, but the traffic is just not there. The catering business parks vans and they have a box truck and a couple of grills that they don't use. I recently resurfaced the whole north end of the road. I mean, not resurfaced, but top coated. I finished the road essentially. And the catering business had 2 vans and a box truck parked where I needed to pay. So I go to them, ask them to move them. None of them even ran. And I told them, I said, this is no place for abandoned vehicles. If these don't run, you need to market them and get rid of them or take them to JP Salvage, whatever their fate is. But I don't want abandoned vehicles sitting here in the middle of Westbury Village, So, there's literally at this time, there's no one, there's 2 cars that use that parking and they all just walk directly into, what's the address? 110 right there. Okay. Yeah. See, this is
the road that accesses the lower level behind this building.
Right.
And there's often a couple cars parked right here for a business that works only in the lower level of that building. So they just get out of their cars and walk right around here.
Right.
They don't even cross the street. I mean, that's the extent of who's using that parking at this time. And I don't know if you're aware of this or not. I don't know if it has any significance, but Milestone Corporation has purchased that building from us.
Good information. Well, if that's all, we'll bring it back over here to the Plat Committee. I thank you for your comments. The access to that building is one of kind of the concerns with the pedestrian connectivity. The other practical difficulties, you can actually see some of them right there. Drew, did you highlight the variances or the waivers and in the packet? And if so, I just wanted to say thank you. I really appreciate that. Sometimes when we get into these conversations, those details are left out, and we're just trying to point on a survey of exactly what is being asked. So I was gonna, I guess, suggest if there is like a lift station and other things, maybe try to highlight on that could really show that to the full plan commission a bit easier. The real tricky part of this is I haven't seen too many where it's just a parking lot next to a road, usually. But that's kind of what it always has been prior to that. So
Yeah, all that angle parking there was
it's already there.
years ago.
Oh, no, I know. I remember parking there and rushing over to here or there.
Yeah, running across the street, and
All
going
that.
fast, yeah.
So,
So,
I was,
that all existed when we bought the place.
I mean, I did it safely. Just wanted you to understand where my thoughts were and why I do kind of have that moderate concern with it now, but it could be a larger concern. We'll leave that conversation for another day. I have no other real questions. I guess my recommendation, if Jeff, you're fine with it, and I think we have to both come to a consensus to get anything done or just move forward, but we could, if you want, make my thoughts are make a recommendation where, the street tree waiver, I'm favorable for it. The stub, I really never saw extreme value even back then, but I was kind of new to the plan commission. I think it was my second year in office. So I just kind of listened a lot. Now it seems a lot like a big ask, but then I think so I would be willing to support that. And then on the third one with the sidewalk, just a no recommendation at this point, and just move that forward. And then the full plan commission, if you're amenable to that type of motion, I'd get behind it.
Yeah, if that's your motion, I second it.
Yeah, that could be a motion then. So you want me to repeat that?
Kind of do.
Okay, so I motion that we move this forward to the plan commission with a favorable recommendation on the street tree waivers and on this future stub connection, and that we have no recommendation on the sidewalk waiver. Do you want to second that again? Just
Yeah, second it again.
okay, and then just second. Which doesn't mean I won't be supportive, it's just.
Right, and understand this, I believe when you see Drew's photographs, you'll have a different conception of this, and I would invite you to, meet me out there sometime, we'll stand there and I'll show you exactly what it is, be happy to do that.
Absolutely.
So there's been a motion and a second to forward a positive recommendation to the plan commission with regards to the street tree waiver and the change to the stub. And then a no recommendation on the sidewalk waiver. I'll call the roll. Jeff Morris?
Yes.
Ron Enright Randolph?
Yes.
Motion passes 2-0.
I usually just kind of sneak on the site, go do my thing and then sneak away.
Well, if you like that, my knowledge of the area right there, like I said, I'd be, just give me a call, I'll be happy to meet you out there anytime.
Okay.
Bring some other members with you if you want.
Well, you gotta be careful with that.
don't do that, is what you're saying.
Can't have a quorum.
But
So
Get a
with
big
that,
argument out in the room.
we are, done with all business and, looking to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
All right, we are adjourned. Okay. Awesome.
All right,
thank you.
Sure.
Bye.
thank you.
Thank you.
I wish I would have had my card, I'd hand it to you.